We'll pick up from Perek Gimel Mishnah Daled, just the 30-second review of the first three Mishnayos of the Perek, where we were defining what's considered a continuous field that you'd be able to give one peah for the whole area, and what would break things and make them considered two separate fields. So in the first few Mishnayos we're talking about more physical things, a path, a stream, etc. So that was the first that would break a field. The third Mishnah, the second and third Mishnayos we're talking more about. No, sorry, that was in the second parak. Already here at the beginning of the third parak, we started with patches of different crops. So if you had patches of wheat between the trees, or Mishnah Beis was some of the field wasn't finished growing, so you left that and didn't harvest it and are coming back and cleaning up those patches you missed. Mishnah Gimel was your if you have the same crop and some of them you're picking earlier to eat fresh and others you're going to do later when you do your main harvest to sell it in bulk. All those things we have, whether there's one or two pays. Okay, now let's continue with Perek Gimel Mishnah Daled. Ha'umos shel b'tzelem. If you have the literally the mother onions, the onions that you leave, you want them to go to seed, so you'll get onion seeds to plant next year's crop from. Well, those are chayavos b'peah. The first Tana says they are obligated in peah. Rabbi Yose pater. Rabbi Yose says they're pater because Rabbi Yose says they're technically edible, but they don't taste very good because they grow for too long. So he says that they're not really considered food and they're not obligated in peah. Malbenus habetzalim.
So seed onions, you let them grow a long time
till they go to seed. Right.
Yeah.
Malbenus habetzalim shebein hayarek. If you have patches of onions between different vegetables in your garden, Rabbi Yose Omer peah mikol achas v'achas. Rabbi Yose says each patch you have in your garden is its own separate field, essentially, and you need to leave a peah from that patch. No, it's normal to alternate them and you don't want to put them all together, so that's just the way you grow a field of onions is you put other things in between and it's all considered one crop and you leave one peah for all the onions. Mishnah Hey, Ha'achin shechalku. Brothers who inherit their father's estate and they get a field and they split it up. They say, you take this part, I'll take that part. No shnei peahs. So now they're separate owners. So ownership is also going to be something that will obviously split the obligation of peah, because I don't have to give peah for your stuff and you don't have to give peah for mine. So they'll give two peahs. Chazru v'nishtatfu. If the brothers, after they make a formal split, decide, okay, let's be partners and work our field together and share the profits. So nosin peah achas, now they're treating the property as one field and they're both working it together. So they'd give one peah for the whole field. Similarly, shnaim shalakchu esa'ilon, if two people buy a tree together, nosin peah achas, so they'll give one peah because it's one tree. Which they're sharing. Each one owns a share of it, no specific part. So you leave one peah. If lakach zetzvaynei v'zedreimai, if the way they bought it is I get the north side of the tree and you get the south side of the tree, so then each one has his own part. So zenos and peah, each one gives peah from their portion. If someone sells literally the stalks of the trees, he sells just the trees in his field without any ground. So I own the ground, and you own the trees, and you get any fruits they produce. No saying peah mikol achas v'achas, since the owner of the trees doesn't own the ground underneath them, so there's nothing to connect one tree to the next, and they're considered separate individual trees. And therefore there would be a separate peah from each tree.
That stems of trees reminds me of there's a thing where you can get the branch, bend it down under the ground,
running,
and then it grows.
Right.
New. Is that what they're talking about? Stems?
No, here they're just. Here it's a way of saying it's an unusual expression for a tree to imply that I'm selling you just the above ground part of the tree and not any ground, any rights to replant it if it dies or anything like that. So that we're saying is that makes the trees not not continuous because since the original owner is keeping the ground between them, so each tree is now just a separate thing that stands on its own, and there's nothing to combine them into a greater whole. So there would be just one peah from all of them. Amar Yehuda, Yehuda says, "Amosai, when is this? Bizman shalei shiur balasada." That's only if the owner of the field didn't keep any trees for himself. Avlam shiur balasada, who knows in peah lakol? But if the balasada keeps some of the trees, so he'll be obligated in peah for the whole thing because he was obligated before he sold any trees. It was his orchard, essentially. It was his field of trees, so he had to give one peah for everything. So when he sells off the individual trees, since they don't join together for the buyer, the obligation of peah is going to remain by the seller. Okay, let's pick up here next week.